for anyone who can't attend. But all right, so
Sorry to interrupt you.
no, jump in. Oh,
No, that I just wanted the companion on, so we're good.
thank you. Thanks. Okay. This is what the schedule is for this morning. We have a welcome and check-in, and there's two pieces here. One is we're going to talk to each other very briefly to check in and get to know each other, especially those of you who are from PTIL, who some of you may have seen Sandra and Marianne from in courses, but we have invited PTIL folks, doctoral folks, to come to our doctoral discussions meetings too, because they have the same concerns, issues, and ideas and support they can share. So we're glad to have them. Then we're going to do our professional development focus. We're planning on about 20 minutes to 30 minutes of our meetings for that kind of component. And then, of course, those of you who've been here before, we've got the small group connection time where we put you into breakout groups and have you talk to one another about whatever you want to talk about, get to know each other, form those connections, those support systems. Complain if you'd like, talk about the challenges that you're having, all of that. And Dr. Carrier and I will stay out, and it's your time. So we hear good things about that time, having that time. And then we're going to talk a little bit about announcements, and then you'll notice there's some resources here on the agenda that we'll be continuing to add to that we feel would be helpful to you. Okay. Why don't we start with a check-in? And I'm going to stop sharing so that we can see everybody here and see a couple new people. Excellent. I'm putting the agenda in for Wendy, who's joined us, and Nicole, who's joined us. So I thought today I don't want to spend a lot of time on who we are and all of that experience because we've done a lot of that. However, Nicole is new to the program. So anything we want to share with her will be really helpful, I'm sure. But I thought our check-in today would be having each one of us share the one food that you could eat for the rest of your life if you only had one food that you could eat. It could be a dish, so it's not just one item necessarily, but it can't be a meal. What's one thing that you would want to eat for the rest of your life? I know that's tough, but I guess I'll start us off just because I had to think about this already. I love popcorn, and it's always my go-to whenever I'm hungry. If I'm not going to eat dinner, I just eat popcorn. I can eat it any time of the day. I like different kinds of popcorn. Mostly though, just air popped or microwave popped popcorn with a little bit of olive oil spray and salt. That's really it. But that's one thing I think I could eat forever if I had to. Is the only thing. Probably not real nutritious, but we're not including that. So, I'll just call on people as I see you, if that's okay. It's just so we get through everyone. Christy, how about you? You're top on my Hollywood squares there.
Yeah. I think pizza for me, because you
Okay.
could do all kinds of things with that too.
That was one I had to decide if that was it too. Yeah, thanks. Star, are you able to share? Great. Yep, no worries. It's sometimes hard on your phone to find the the unmute button. There you
I
are.
did. Sorry about that. I had to like switch screens. I put the screen on like this every my space. And so, anyways, good morning, everyone. So, my favorite food or dish I could eat all day, any day, is homemade banana pudding. Right. And it could be made with shortcake cookies as well. But you mix that in with the vanilla wafers. It's so good. Not
Okay.
healthy, but it's
Right.
delicious.
Not sustainable, but thank you, Star. That's great. Sandra, how about you?
That's so hard. Nothing sounds that good. I'm gonna go with eggs because they can be portable, but you can also cook them different ways.
Great idea. Chloe.
I love a good chicken strip. So Dairy Queen is my favorite, but I could eat those all day long. Again, yes, not good for me, but definitely good.
Thank you. I'm sure your son likes those too, right? Yeah.
Definitely.
Stuart, how about you?
This is difficult, trying to balance conveying an image of responsibility while at the same time being really honest. I love wings. I love wings sitting at a sports bar with the camaraderie. One of my third places is my favorite sports bar, and there's a lot of different things you can do with wings.
Nice. Thank you. Danielle.
It's so funny that you're asking this because mine is my mom's spaghetti, and she just called to invite me to dinner tomorrow night with her spaghetti. So, and usually when I'm there, we ask for leftovers and we all take home a little thing that we can freeze because, when you need it, to have it.
That's great.
Yeah. Rita.
This is hard because you just named every one of you all named something I would eat with no problem. Um, so I'm just gonna say tacos, even though I literally could have ate everything you all said, even Sandra, even the eggs, I would have made an omelet. Like I love to eat. So yeah, I'm just gonna say tacos.
Thank you. Princess.
Hi, everyone. So for me, it's burgers. Like I love a good burger. Like no matter what, that's always my go-to. If I go to a restaurant and the menu not looking great, just give me a burger. I'm good. So that's for me.
Good thought. Yeah, good one. Thanks. Marianne.
Um, well, Dr. Chesner, I really like popcorn too. I'm kind of connoisseur, stovetop. I don't like microwave. I don't want anything else on it. But it's actually become Greek yogurt with frozen fruit. It's pretty much my evening meal, and it's my snack, and sometimes it's breakfast.
I like that. Thank you. Nicole. Good to see you.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Nicole. Pardon me, I'm outside of a homecoming game. One of my former students is a flag girl, and so I'll be joining right after I leave class. But my favorite food is mashed potatoes in the whole wide world. But I'm gonna go with shepherd pie so it can give me a little bit of versatility, and I can have some extra stuff with my mashed potatoes. So, I'm a mashed potato girl.
Great. Thanks. And Wendy.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going with pasta. Just anyway, I love it since I was little. I think those were the first few words I learned to say. It's noodles. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, thank you all for participating in that. That was great. And I haven't eaten yet, so I'm getting a little hungry. Appreciate that. Okay. I wanted to point out in the agenda, we have been keeping this dissertation topic chart and since September of 23. And some of you will see that you've already completed or put in your dissertation topic, but we would love for everyone to do that. You may have changed your topic or adjusted it. It's kind of a great way for us all to see what you're working on. So at any time in this meeting, if you can kind of update this or add your own a topic so that if any of you have ideas or support or resources, you can see what others are doing. And it might be a great way for you to find a peer or a support group if necessary, if someone has a common topic or one that you've got a lot of information. It's not necessary to be in a support group or peer group, but that might be another way to connect with one another. Okay. So I will leave that at that. All right. So for the next 20 to 30 minutes, we're going to be focusing on the IRB. But before we do that, I am going to do something here. We're going to do a poll. Let's see how this works. I'm going to launch this dissertation work check-in. Can you all see this? Good, that worked. So I would like you to check in here. Choose the option that's the closest to where you are in your dissertation work. I am here with my dissertation work. I just started the program. I'm working on my concept paper, starting or working on my IRB. My IRB is approved. I'm collecting data, I'm analyzing data, and I'm close to defending. Choose one. Can you all see the results at the same time? You can't, okay. Okay, we'll wait till everyone, looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it looks like all of us have voted here. Now, if I end it, I'm wondering if I will show, this is my first time well, second time, but it's been a long time since I've used a poll. Let me just share with you the data from what I see, and then I'll see if I can share it with you as well in a visual. But 2 out of you are working on your concept paper, and 8 out of 10 of you are starting or working on your IRB. So this is good timing for you. Looks like I could get a QR code for you to click to see the answer. Feel free to click on that if you'd like. If not, don't worry, you just heard the results. I'll give you a second if any of you are interested in that. It doesn't look like anyone is. So, okay. So if I end the poll, oh, here we go. I can share the results. All right. Now you can see the results, correct? Okay. Perfect spot. And that's why we chose the IRB to focus on today, because we know a lot of you are in that stage, finishing up, getting ready. I put the others there because there's a few people in the program who have their IRB approved. Some are collecting data, some have already finished and are analyzing their data, and we've got someone who's very close to defending that we'll talk about a little bit later. Okay. All right. So let me go back here. All right. So the first thing we want to do is I'm going to try one more thing. I'm going to try sharing a whiteboard. Let's see if that works. I've never done it. Stuart, have you done that before?
I have indeed. Yeah, I've been putting my agendas on a whiteboard.
Okay.
And feedback I get is that it's pretty helpful, and you should see folks' icons on it when you put it up.
Okay.
It's a good way to collect multiple inputs.
Okay. I'm not seeing it as an option for myself. So let's do this instead. I'd love you to take a couple minutes of answering this first question here. And you can just put, since all of you have editing access, please just add your questions under what questions do you have about the IRB process. If you don't have any, that's great. But is there a question? We're not going to answer them right away. We're going to hope that we'll answer them later if they don't get answered within our little professional learning segment here. So please feel free to add any questions onto. And those of you who are driving, if you have a question, please share it and I can type it in there for you. We'll take just a couple minutes to do that.
Dr. Chesner, I don't have edit access. I'll request it. It says I can request it.
Let me anyone with the link, here we go. Sorry, I should have double checked that. I thought I made you all editors. Okay. Looks like it's working. Does it work now? There we go. Well, Stuart does. Okay, great. Okay, as you're finishing that up, we're going to move on and we're going to keep in mind these questions and try to work them in. Oh, did someone put their initials? Is that what WM is?
Yeah, that was me.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. That's really helpful because if we don't get your question answered, if you want to put your initials, that was Wendy. Okay. We can get back to you on those if we don't get to them today. So feel free if you want to put your initials or not. Danielle, thank you. Okay. All right. As you're finishing up on that, Dr. Carrier, I'm kind of put you on the spot if you don't mind. Can you share with us a very brief overview, maybe a 3-minute overview of the purpose of the IRB and just the purpose of the IRB and the application, the process? I can expand on that a little bit.
Sure, I'll be glad to do that. The Institutional Review Board system that NOU uses is very typical of accredited universities that all share the purpose of having an internal system designed to monitor research ethics within the institution, research conducted by faculty and by students, for purposes of assuring alignment with human subjects ethical standards that originated out of some truly horrific cases of research gone bad in the 20th century. I have a colleague who did a presentation I'm trying to obtain to put in our digital our shared site, our student union of research gone bad. So it's the purpose of it is to safeguard human subjects, especially vulnerable populations, which include minors of legal age, prisoners, anybody that can't protect themselves in the face of research efforts. So there's a national structure, there's an organization called CITI that most of you are familiar with. NOU is common among universities of using CITI training to acquaint you with the specifics of what operationally is meant by human subjects research. And so that's the main purpose of it. NOU has faculty appointed as IRB reviewers. So there is an IRB mailbox at NOU in the email system where you work with your chair to fulfill an IRB application that's available at the NOU IRB website. There is a PDF formatted application, and there is guidelines inside that application for a narrative structure that you are asked to write in a word processing document, typically Microsoft Word, to answer about 8 topics related to explaining your study with a particular focus on how are you handling informed consent? How are you handling issues that relate to the protection of your subjects if you're interacting with subjects in collecting information through surveys, focus groups, or interviews. So that's the basic framework. One of the questions I saw was, how long does this take? IRB reserves a 30-day window for its own processing. Faculty are basically donating time to IRB processes, so there is some degree of variability. The internal rule structure that's currently in place with IRB is the IRB leadership, a veteran faculty researcher named Shanti Kanauf is the staff director of IRB. She is amazingly compassionate to both subjects and researchers, has a very even-handed approach. She encourages IRB reviewers to try to respond within 2 weeks of submission. Um, they don't always make it, but the expectation is for the reviewer to respond within a month. Um, so what else should I cover, Jerry? Is that
I think that's good for now. Some of
okay?
the other pieces I think will come through as we work on an activity today. So we're going to get you active today beyond just listening to us. Let me share my screen one more time. Oops, let's see, make this a little bigger. Okay. So we do have some questions, sample IRBs. We will, those, if they're not yet, they will be in the student union and also in your CCD 699S shells. They'll be there for sure. I've got to double check to see that they're there. I know I've been sharing some with some of you. So this question here on the dissertation defense, I'm assuming that's what you were asking, right, Danielle? The defense piece of it? Okay. We'll get to that in a little bit. So today, what we're going to do is look a little bit at the IRB form and the requirements, and then have you look at a sample IRB narrative form and also the application form so that you can be a part of it and see what's missing or what's done well to help you to tweak your own or write your own as you're wherever you're at in the process. So basically, so all these links are here for you. There's a couple of links at the bottom that could be helpful. But for what we're doing today and now, the IRB form has been updated, okay, with this summer. So that all of you know, if you're working with an older form, Stuart, they are recommended to use the latest and greatest, newest one, correct?
Absolutely, yes, that's correct.
And that,
There's
sorry, oh, go ahead.
there's not a great deal of difference from the old form. They united and integrated the faculty form and the student form, and it's pretty brief. It's not onerous.
Right. And if you've already started in the old one, in order to get approval, right, sooner than later, we highly recommend you switch over to this form. So again, as Stuart said, there's not much difference. Here it is. Can everyone see it up here? I'm never sure if it's available. You can see it. Okay.
Yeah, we see it.
Very simple. Your name, role. I've seen some people write student or doctoral student. Because it is for student, faculty, and staff, they want to know the difference. Primary researcher, your home address, your cell and work number, your NLU email address, everything is done through your NLU account. Your college and department, it doesn't show here, but there is a drop down where you have to click a drop down menu. You all are a part of NCE, the National College of Education in National Louis University. There's other options like Kendall College, and I think I forget what the other ones are because they don't relate to us. The campus, there's another drop down. You're going to pick online. Okay. This is where you put your research title, and know that that's where your research title is today as it stands or when you submit. So it will most likely be tweaked as you continue your research, and that's okay. With the dates, anticipated start data collection start date. I believe there's a drop down here, but you can put whatever date that is. So if you're planning on starting in January of 2025, you can put that there. Where there's other places for dates, there are drop downs, and you'll see that in just a moment. Any questions on this first page so far? Just running through this quickly. Stuart, I'm seeing missing. Oh, okay. It looks different because this is in my Google Google.
Right.
There are
Yeah.
lines for all of these. You'll see the drop down. If you are working with others, which none of you are at this point, you're all doing your research independently. This is for faculty such as myself who's done some research to list everyone who's a part of the research in addition to myself. So here's the next piece. You're going to check only one of the following to indicate the review level. And this can get a little confusing. That's why, Stuart, I'm going to ask you to share in just a moment. But
Sure.
if you look down to the next page, there are three categories. You see the exempt, you see expedited, and you see full. And you're going to choose one of those. Stuart, do you want to just briefly share what each of those is and
Sure.
what they would?
Yeah. Okay. The three
I'll go down.
categories are you're submitting for exempt status, expedited status, or what's the third one is full review. Exempt status is applicable if you are engaged in research that only involves your normal everyday work practice. This NOU's got a long, rich history in action research conducted by teachers in the classroom. So if all of your data is normally generated in your activity as an educator, you can be exempt. If you don't have any subjects, if you are doing content analysis like a curriculum analysis, then exempt could be appropriate. A pretty small number of applications are classified as exempt. Most applications, I would say 80 to 90% that our program generates, are submitted for expedited review. Expedited review, the main yardstick is if your study involves no more than minimal everyday risk, and one of the silver bullets to get a quick approval is to explicitly in your IRB narrative put that my study involves no more than the normal risks of everyday life is the kind of phrase that they're looking for. That's the guideline. So almost everybody in our program is submitted for expedited review. The IRB response to an expedited review is they assign it to one reviewer who looks at everything you've submitted, makes a recommendation back to the IRB board. Often there's little missing pieces of minutia. It's very, very common to have one cycle of having it sent back to you saying, okay, one thing I've seen coming up recently is there's an expectation that you talk about data security. You should have a paragraph in the data collection topic in that setting, and you should say something to the effect that the researcher will keep the data in a secure location under the control of the researcher. It doesn't have to be lengthy or real explicit, but that's an example of a loop. If you haven't filled that checklist, IRB reviewers use a checklist to look at your submission. Full review.
Can I interrupt for just 1 second,
Sure.
Stuart?
Yes.
The other
Sure.
piece with expedited review is keeping it in a secure location, but also when you will destroy or delete the data. That's another piece that's written in. You'll see it as you look at it. So I think it's a 3-year span that they want you to say that after 3 years, the data will be deleted or destroyed.
A great point, Jerry. And that is sometimes some of our reviewers are kind of obsessive compulsive, and I've seen to study an application returned because there wasn't an explicit and I don't like the word destroy. Data erasure is fine. We just had an IRB reviewer meeting last week, and somebody made the point that in some places it's a point of pride that they never destroy anything. So you can say that you can say that data will be perpetually secure in under the control of the researcher, but you do have to address that point. That's a good point, Sherry.
Wendy, do you have a question or comment?
I do. For this particular statement that you're saying about data erasure, is that something that needs to be mentioned in the narrative?
Yes.
And
So
it's
we have in the narrative, it needs to be included that, okay, Thank you. I didn't see that in the directions that needed to be stated. Did I miss that?
It's you didn't. I think it's probably mentioned in the consent. There's a separate consent form checklist, and
Okay.
technically you would be fine if you just say something about it in your consent form. Um, but reviewers are using these two checklists for the narrative and for the consent form. And so it's just a good safeguard to mention it under the data collection heading, item 3 on the screen right now. It's just good to put it in there.
One more thing just to clarify.
Sure,
In any
sure,
statement, should we also say that it is after 3 years?
right.
Okay.
That's a good standard statement, right?
Okay. Thank you.
Well, and there's
Sure.
been a lot of, adjustments to the IRB application. So this is whatever is here is the best to adhere to, the most recent. Okay, the full review,
Right.
Stuart, go ahead.
Right. Full review is triggered if the study implies some risk to the subjects. This is rare. I'd say less than 10% of the cases, but to state the obvious, I'm in my second year as an IRB reviewer. I've learned a lot about this process, and I really savor being able to help you get ready for this and minimize the number of cycles that you have to go through on this. So full review is triggered by potential risk to the subjects. If you build into your data collection plan collecting data from minors, from legal minors, that's a trigger for full review almost inevitably. And in the case of our doctoral researchers who are engaged in large scale school districts, it is a challenge often to get school district approval to interact directly with minors. And most school districts do require that you submit to their research office as well as NLU's IRB form. So we urge a sense of caution. We are working with some doctoral candidates who are engaging minors in their study. That, in addition to triggering full review, you need a consent form from the parents and an assent form, which, since minors by legal definition cannot give legal consent, you have to include a form that says that the minor signs that says, yes, I assent to this, to answering the questions in this study. The two cases I've seen in the last year that triggered full review. One involved a very creative, relatively new methodology called photo voice, of including photos in the study, asking research subjects to provide a photo that is emblematic of your college success, was the question in the research study, because of the fact that there's some sensitivity to other people appearing in photographs, raising consent issues. The photo voice application that I saw last year triggered full review, and the solution was the researcher got approval by doing a consent form from folks in the photograph and urging the subjects to mask the faces of folks that weren't critical to the study if they didn't get a consent form. So there's an extra complication involving photographs. And the second case that I just judged is a researcher who's in community psych, not in our area, who is studying the nature of white nationalism, and is intentionally seeking out people who avow white nationalist beliefs And that triggered a serious full review for the protection of the researcher and for the protection of you. We needed to absolutely make sure that confidentiality and privacy were strictly observed in that case. So it takes a lot to trigger a full review, and basically what that involves is a meeting of the full IRB board. Um, so let me pause there and see if you have any other questions.
To add to that, one more thing before we move forward. If you are using student data, but not working with students individually, you don't need an assent and a consent. And I know there's a lot of you who are taking school-wide data that's accessible to you as an administrator or as a teacher. I've seen that error where some people think they need a full review, but you don't. If it's data, it's not the actual observations of students or working individually with students. So that still
That's
would be appropriate.
absolutely accurate.
Cited.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, just back up to the form real quick, and then we're going to jump in. After you've chosen your option, most likely expedited, but possibly exempt, you are going to sign it and date it. And here's one of the places where there's a pull down as well. It'll mark it to the date that you are actually signing it. You can't change that date. I found that when you see my example in just a minute. Then after everything is approved, after your chair has looked at it and things are approved to be sent in, your committee chair will sign it as well and provide their email address and the date that they actually sign it as well. So that's the actual form. Then comes the narrative piece, which you all, if you haven't seen it yet, you will, but we're not going to go through it in detail today. Notice that there's one new thing here I want you to look at, and Danielle caught it, and this conflict of interest. We'll talk about that in a little bit. It is not on the website yet, but I did talk with Shanti, and I do have a copy. I did put it in the resource section here. They are going to get it onto the website. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Here's the required elements for the consent form. And if you're working with different groups of people, you may need more than one consent form. So for example, if you're interviewing teachers, you're interviewing coaches, you're interviewing parents and surveying whatever, chances are that people aren't doing the same exact thing. Whatever your data collection is with those participants, you need a separate consent form for each. Okay. That said, I'm going to move back to here and let us get started in our IRB matchup challenge. So what we're going to do, we're going to get into breakout groups. I'm going to put you with 1, 2, if wherever we're at with our numbers. But basically, you are going to be looking at, so you can click on copy of Jerry's research narrative here. Last year, I submitted with 2 of my colleagues. We were doing research on our new teacher induction program that we developed. And here is the IRB narrative from that. It did get approved. This is the approved one. And I did tweak it a little because it was in the old format a little bit, but this should match the latest and greatest narrative requirements. So you'll see the research purpose, participants, recruitment, data collection, risks and benefits, consent and assent. And here's our participant consent form. And here is the participant survey. We did a pre-survey. And that's just that was our plan for when we started. We made some adjustments. I didn't add those adjustments here because you don't need to unless you do something totally different. It's okay if you get approved with what you have. Okay. And then we did a focus group, and here's the protocol for our focus group, the questions that we asked. And in May, we had another survey. Again, we added some other questions, but this was approved in this format. Okay, this was the entire narrative package. If we go back here, oh, I thought I had my I had my application as well. I can put that there as well while you're working. But what we want you to do is spend a little time with my application narrative piece, working with a colleague here, and you're forced to make a copy of this matchup. So either one of you or both of you can make a copy and share it when you're in your group, because I don't want you all writing on the same document. I want you to work on your own. So once you make a copy, this is what you're going to do. You're going to read the sample IRB, and identify which parts of the sample narrative match the guidelines. So look for words or key phrases to you're looking at it as an IRB reviewer. Does this make sense? Is this clear? And also at the same time thinking, how helpful is this for me? So if there's some key, this is what the description in the narrative is. Provide a brief summary, 1 to 2 paragraphs, and so on. Please do not include a literature review, but you could include 1 to 3 citations. And each of these sections has the exact description of what you need to put in an IRB narrative. Okay, so use that to help you. I shouldn't have to give you any more background on the study because it should all be there. This is what the IRB got. But what I'd like you to do is, for your own benefit, you don't need to put a lot in here. You can check and see if it's a good match. If not, is there anything that you would recommend or question that might be added? Any gaps? It's not perfect by any means, but it was approved. That doesn't mean it can't be improved. So take a look at that for each of the sections. See how far you can get with this. That is the work that you're going to be doing. And then when we get back, depending on time, we can look at some of the findings that you came up with. Okay. You're all at different stages. Please know that. So you're here to help each other. If you don't know it, that's fine. Okay. Work through it, see what you can come up with. And Lenona, hello, welcome. Another new student to the program. Thanks for coming.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. I hope you've been able to catch up with us. We're focusing on the IRB, which is a piece you will be working on in a couple terms from now. So,
Okay.
all right. Okay, well, why don't we get into some breakout groups? We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Great. What I'd like to do is give someone who's a little farther in the program. So how do I do this? I'm going to assign manually, which I typically never do. Later on, you will be with whomever in a small group when we just have our free share time. But let's see. We've got some people who've been around and have some. I'm going to put Nicole and Wendy together. Okay. I've got to add another room. Let's put Chloe and Lenona, if that's okay. I'm going to add room 3 and assign Christy and Princess. And now we're getting to people who've been, one more room here. Add a room, whoops. We'll put Danielle and Marianne. And room 6, we will put Rita and Sandra. Does that sound okay? All right. I'm going to open all rooms. We will work for probably at least 20 minutes. We've got only until 11:30, so maybe 15 minutes. If there's a certain section that you all have more challenge with that you'd like to look at, please start there. I guess I would read the purpose section first, but then from that point, you can choose. All right, we'll see you in a bit.
Yeah, I was just writing a note. I'm going to step out into my 525 meeting, which is starting at 11:30, but
Okay.
11:30 Eastern. No,
Ah,
yeah. Um,
okay.
but I just want to make sure there's nobody over there waiting. I changed the time, but I just got a Zoom queue that that meeting is opening at 11. I just want to make sure there's nobody waiting over there, so I'll be back.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, great job so far. This is really super helpful.
I'm gonna pop into the rooms and see if, just to see how things are going. You think that's okay? Sometimes I stay out, but I kind of want to get a feel.
I think it's great. I think it's good.
All right.
Okay, see you soon.
kind of the same thing,
Yeah.
affects gen ed at the 100 and 200 level. Because it's
Oh,
someplace we can touch everybody, right?
yep.
Or we can affect. Touch sounds too
Yep.
physical. I didn't mean it that way.
Nope,
But
I know what you're talking about.
affect everyone because they
Wants us to determine.
Let's see. Let me look. Mm.
From the first two classes.
Right, right. And what I don't know if Dr. Chesner's in here or not.
I am. Do you need something?
No, you know what? We got a little sidetracked. We were just talking about the program in general.
No worries, everybody has. I've noticed it,
Okay.
which is okay.
Yeah, yeah. No, we were talking about she's in the first two classes of the program, which is really exciting. And I said, I think that this term is maybe my last course related, and then I'll be focused on a dissertation from here on out. So, but still working through all those different pieces. And I was telling her how it's kind of exciting that each class you're kind of taking a piece of that and putting it in your dissertation somewhere, which is productive to me because you're not just doing it to do it, you're doing it for a purpose. I like that a lot. And one tip I guess I have is like creating a spreadsheet of all of the courses you're taking and what pieces you are putting in your dissertation, it's helpful to be like, oh, in 625 I did this, and this is where I put this information. So that's one tip that I might have for you is you start because I did it a little bit later in my program, like, oh gosh, what did I do in that class at that time? So
Would
there's
you
my
share that spreadsheet with me, Chloe?
yes, I can.
And would you give me permission? I'll take off any identifiers to maybe share that as a model and maybe one of our meetings have you, share it with everyone.
Sure. Yeah, I should fill it out more, but I will. Yes, I'll do
Okay,
that.
thank you.
Sure.
Sorry, I
Okay.
didn't mean to.
So that's a good tip. I'm so glad that because again, I'm at work, but I jumped on because I know it's going to be informational purposes for me. I'm clueless and I just want to gain knowledge and information based on going forward.
Students were not made to feel forced into participate into
Okay, let me continue with that. Again, we hope this was helpful in talking about your IRB individually. Use what you can from this workshop. I do want to give you a little bit of group connection time, although you did have some time. What do you think? Do you want to get into a group and kind of talk things through, or do you feel like you've had enough of that as of now? I guess I'll take the no for Danielle. Okay. You feel like you had enough connection? Is that okay? All right. Great. Well, then we can finish up here with the other pieces. Again, I want to remind you, if you haven't filled out your dissertation topic chart and you know your dissertation topic, or at least a very general idea, please put it in there so we can kind of keep track. I wanted to share some announcements. Number one being we are going to continue with our fall term doctoral discussion sessions and our professional learning component. Then we are alternating between Saturdays and Mondays like we did last term or spring term. The next session, we're going to do a piece on the literature review, the ins and outs of that. And we're hoping to have some of the students who have done pieces of that and have gone through that to share with you. So please, if you can make it, the Monday times, why don't I have that on here? I do in the announcements. What is it on Mondays? On Mondays, when 6 to 7:30 are the times. Let me just stick that in here. 6 to 7:30 is the time on Mondays, and on Saturdays, it'll always be 10 to 11:30, at least for this term. We may change it based on your needs for next term. The topics for November 2nd and November 18th haven't been determined yet. So if you have any ideas, please share that with us so we can develop something. We want you to be a part of it too, sharing what you've learned. Chloe, I want to put in here, just talking to you before about how you organize. How do you want to say that? What would you say?
Yeah, like organize coursework for dissertation or something like that. Yeah.
Just to speak for her quickly, she has a spreadsheet where she keeps track of every course that she's in and what she learns or the components or content that would fit into her dissertation, into the various chapters or sections, because many courses have that connection. Do you want to say more about that, Chloe? I'm sorry, I don't want to
No,
speak.
that's a good summary of it. Yeah.
And she's got a spreadsheet that she's willing to share with us. And there are other ways that other people have been connecting. So maybe that's a how do you do it kind of thing. And I know Dr. Carrier and I have a good feel for what our students are doing that have good methods. So maybe that's an open method sharing session. So please let us know what you have, what you want. We have a special event on November 23rd. It's a Saturday. And it may go a little longer. It depends. But we have our first strategic and leadership doctoral student, Luletta Dardovsky, who you may know, who is hoping, planning on completing her dissertation hearing defense early December, very early. So we've asked her to do a mock defense or mock hearing. Those are the two words I typically use, so that you can be a part of it and listen in and see what it takes. Because I know that was your question, Danielle, above. What does that hearing look like? Danielle stepped aside, but what is that hearing? What can it look like? What are the major components? So Luletta said, I'd love to practice, and I would be more than happy to share it with all of my colleagues. And it can be other colleagues. If you have colleagues in other programs who want to join, no, please, we can welcome them too. Just knowing that some are a little bit different. I know some of you have people in the reading program, friends in the reading program, or other programs. If they're in ed leadership programs, they're pretty similar, but it's the more you see, the more you can experience, the better. So put that on your calendars. It's going to be a great, I think, a great session for everyone, including Luletta. Okay, I'm running quickly because I'd love to give you some time off. Get us out of here a little early. This survey, some of you, what I'd like to do is every term have you complete the survey, or whenever. I'm going to put it in the student union. Dr. Carrier and I are going to put it in our classes. It's a very simple survey of how we can help you better. So any suggestions you have, any questions you have about dissertation work and processes, what do you still need from your faculty to help you continue your success in the program? Anything else you want to share? You can complete this at any time. I strongly urge you after today, if you have something to say related to ideas for future topics or questions that you were left with, I will be monitoring this closely. Please complete that survey. I'm going to put that in the chat just to make it easy for you if anyone wants to do that now. Here we go. Okay. And lastly, what I wanted to share was in spring, we had one open writing time where myself and one student, hoping we have more of you, but again, it's totally optional. But if I've put them on Wednesdays, I hope that works. If not, we can maybe make one of them a different day. If you let me know that if Wednesday is out and if there's something better, please let me know. But on Wednesday, October 30th and on November 20th, from 6:30 to 8:30, it's a writing time. Come join on Zoom. You can meet in small groups. You can meet with me independently. It's time for you to just to work on your dissertation work wherever you're at. If there's others who join who want to meet with you, we can have anyone can break out and talk with one another independently. It's a dedicated time. I know it's really hard for many of you to find some dedicated time to write. If you can go to a library or a quiet spot and turn on Zoom, we'll all be together with our cameras off unless someone wants to talk or share. I really want to open that time myself. I'll be doing my own research writing too, but I'm there to help as well. So are Wednesdays okay for people, or is there anyone who thinks they might want to come in another day? Okay, please let me know. And lastly, there's some resources here for you. This IRB website, which you all need to become familiar with, as Stuart said, they're continuing to update things. The conflict of interest form here is not there yet, but I will put that in the 699 shells as well. You can always email me for it if you can't find it easily. The IRB organizer is something that Dr. Carrier created that could be helpful to you. So all those resources are there. If any of you come across any resources that you think will be helpful, the best place to find them is the Student Union, the Strategic Ed Leadership Student Union, and I can put in there whatever else needs to be. And for those of you who are new, you are now enrolled. I have everyone enrolled in the Student Union. And if you have questions on how to get to that, please let me know. And maybe next time I'll do a brief update on where it is, what's in there, any new things that have been added. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. And thank you, Wendy, for your comments here. Anything we want to end with today? Questions, comments?
I just I have a scheduled follow-up meeting to this for EDL 605, the Change Leadership course. Anybody that's enrolled in that, it's going to be just a friendly, brief check-in. I've posted a couple of new resources in the shell, and I just want to check in with you to see how it's going for those of you that are involved in the Change Leadership course, starting at 30 past the hour, which is 7 minutes from now, on my invitation in the D2L shell inside the course. Thank you.
How's everyone feeling related to your work? Okay, stay on it. Stay on it. Connect with your chairs or your facilitator, myself, ASAP to get something scheduled. The sooner you do it in the term, the better. And you can also do more meetings with them because you use your chair, use me as the chair of the program to help you. We're here for that. We don't want you to flounder, which, we know the challenges that you'll have. So stay in close touch, even if you're not doing much or feel like, you don't want to share where you're at because you haven't been. Check in. You really should be checking in with your chairs every 2 to 3 weeks max. Either you should be checking in with them, and they have directions to check in with you too, but it's kind of your responsibility to do that. So you're all doing great work. Keep it up. All right. Thank you so much for attending. We loved seeing you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Everyone's gone. Okay. How do we stop?